My stepson was not a sucker.
For most Americans, Memorial Day is the day we honor the men and women who died protecting this great nation. For Trump,
he's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
When it comes to the U.S. military, Trump has proven time and time again they are incidental to his true aims, which are easy to define.
So I have a total net worth, and now with the increase, it'll be well over $10 billion. But I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care.
And now on the day that we honor the men and women who died defending, if not the American people directly, the ideals and principles upon which we stand, Trump shows the depths and degree he will lower himself to dishonor this nation.
Does the president believe that he is above the law?
But before we get to the latest insult on this solemn day, to everybody watching this, a couple things I want you to remember. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar. Bone spurs, suckers and losers, not attending a service for the dead because rain would mess up his hair, January the 6th, the Lafayette Bible, and of course, his own perverse tribute to himself, a parade.
And once again, the president hasn't done anything wrong.
We'll get to those in a few minutes, but first, Trump has done it again, this time with another slap in the face to the men and women who died protecting our country.
But he has started his Memorial Day, as he often does on these holidays, with a lengthy all-caps social media post. We should note this post includes nothing of the sacrifice made by U.S. armed forces at home and abroad, but rather, happy Memorial Day to all, including the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country. And it goes on from there about immigration, and in particular, a scathing broadside against the judges, the federal judges, including the Supreme Court, that has tried to rein in his immigration policies. We're certainly not going to read all of that missive. You can go to Truth Social if you care to. But that's where the president's mindset is this morning.
Look, I get why he doesn't want to read it, but I think you need to hear it nonetheless. Trump is rapidly descending into madness.
Happy Memorial Day to all, including the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country through warped radical left minds who allowed 21 million people to illegally enter our country.
21 million? Go ahead.
Made them being criminals and the mentally insane through an open border that only an incompetent president would approve, and through judges who are on a mission to keep murderers, drug dealers, rapists, gang members, and release prisoners from all over the world in our country so they can rob, murder, and rape again.
Whoa, time out. Trump is saying the judges are doing this just to spite him. They're letting people come back into the country to rob, murder, and rape.
But fear not, we've made great progress over the last 4 months, and America will soon be safe and great again.
Yeah, progress like torpedoing the economy, cratering the stock market, and deporting U.S. citizens to prisons in El Salvador. All right, obviously on the day we honor the dead men and women whose sacrifice allowed people like Man-Titties here to accumulate great wealth, we're forced to watch him ignore that sacrifice by, again, literally shitting words out of his mouth. Horrible words about the people we are. All right, briefly, a couple points. Number one, Obama and Biden, they deported more people in their 4 years than Trump did in his first term. But real criminals, not the opportunistic racial attacks on Hispanic families who have no criminal records or gang ties. Two, 21 million people didn't come across the border under Biden. He's making these numbers up. But crime among undocumented, which is a fraction of the crime that indigenous Americans commit, decreased under Biden after Trump left office. And three, Trump's attack on judges, accusing them of purposely keeping violent criminals in the country, is a bald-faced lie. You know it is.
Of communist radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States.
And in great contrast to Trump's pardoning of those 1,500 people who attacked the Capitol, put 100 cops in the hospital, and when pardoned, have committed more than 20 felonies, from everything from criminal assault to child porn.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon. Yes. Full pardon. So this is a big one.
But the real obscenity predates Trump's latest obscenity because Trump has never supported the military. To the contrary, the guy who lied about having bone spurs to escape the same draft that those who couldn't afford college and went and died in the jungles of Vietnam and Cambodia, Trump didn't only avoid the draft, he mocked those who served and died.
Time it seemed odd. The President of the United States skipping a ceremony to honor Americans killed in the First World War, blaming the weather, even though other officials made it. The Atlantic magazine reports that on that specific visit, Donald Trump told staff, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." Later, he called 1,800 Americans who died in the legendary Battle of Belleau Wood suckers for getting killed. The reporter behind the story stands by it and his high-level, unnamed sources.
He doesn't understand why one would go pay that level of respect to fallen American soldiers.
Trump called it fake news, blaming the story on disgruntled former employees.
They had a rainstorm, the likes of which you've rarely seen.
Veterans groups are already looking to capitalize on the story, which has been confirmed by other outlets, including Fox News. For some veterans, the story speaks volumes about Trump's patriotism.
This is all backed up by Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, not exactly a raging liberal who lost his own son in Afghanistan back in 2010.
Kelly confirms long-standing allegations that Trump called prisoners of war suckers. Trump is said to have made the remark at Arlington National Cemetery on Memorial Day. Kelly also says Trump did not want to be seen with soldiers who were wounded in battle because it doesn't look good for me.
Kelly also called his former boss, quote, a person who admires autocrats and murderous dictators.
And of course, Trump sicked thousands of his supporters on Capitol Hill police, in effect the troops protecting the Capitol on the day Congress confirms the free vote of millions of Americans. General Milley was so worried, he phoned China to reassure them we still had control of the country. I'm not sure you can still say that today, though. As well as Trump sending troops into Lafayette Square to face fellow Americans protesting Trump's attack on George Floyd.
We don't take an oath to a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
I want to be a dictator.
But there is no more General Milley, and instead we have a president who is commanding the armed forces to create a parade in his honor on his birthday to drive through the streets of Arlington into the nation's capital to honor himself. Look, this flatulent, oafish, postulating skin tag who mocks the young men and women who died so he can steal billions and cut funding for troops and their families, well, now he has a parade that'll cost more than $50 million, all while Trump cuts VA benefits, including money for NIH studies, everything from the next pandemic to childhood cancer. But to be fair, I'm biased. I grew up in D.C. My dad was a D.C. cop. My mom worked for the U.S. District Attorney's Office, and my sisters, they were teachers. So yeah, I take it a little personal. My question is, while Trump changes the name of military bases back to the names of Confederate traitors and promotes this woman-abusing drunk to lead these forces...
In a 2018 email to her son obtained by the New York Times, Penelope Hegseth wrote, on behalf of all the women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way, I say get some help.
I want my mommy.
After everything you've learned about this guy, are you surprised?
Damn right.
Trump is a sexual predator.
You're a nasty person.
We're a nation that speaks English.
Look, if something like that thing start goggling.
Tara, you're an idiot.
Goddamn right.
Drop your pants.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.